Welcome to the Young Hearts Run Free podcast. Des Tinney. How you doing, Des?
I'm doing fine, John. Hello. Good evening, John and Stephen.
Nice to be here. How
Hello.
you? Stephen, you
Uh,
good?
I'm good. Aye. Looking forward to this roving report.
It definitely is. It also, thank you very much to Des, it ticks a box on their global destination. That's the wrong word. On their global journey to Tokyo in March 2025. So Des is going to furnish us, we hope, with information about a recent adventure that he's taken part in. But first of all, Des, we always like to get a wee bit of background about who our guests are. A lot of our listeners will have heard the name Des Tinney, I am sure. But in your own words, Des, who is Des Tinney and what's your running background?
who is Des Tinney? Well, the running background sort of started when Leon was born, so it was about 16 years ago. That was basically like so many podcasts. I'm a long time listener, first time caller. The amount of people, guys that you've had in the podcast are talking about all started playing football. So I'm also one of them, all started playing football. But when Leon came along, I couldn't then disappear Tuesday, Thursday nights for training, and then go to the football on a Saturday, and then disappear on a Sunday for 3-4 hours. So, but I also wanted to still keep fit. So something had to sort of give. So the football did, but then I picked up running to make it a wee bit more serious. But then reality as well, it's like I've been basically running, playing football since 8-year-old. So it's going way back. My mum was a runner, so she ran for Scotland as a teenager. So I've got it in my DNA, it's in my genes. Then when I came along, she stopped running, so it's maybe my fault that she never progressed. And then when I was a teenager, she picked it back up again. But during that time, she was a member of Bathgate Running Club. I went along to Bathgate Running Club. My dad was sort of not the coach of the football team, but he's just coached me. He used to work on. I could run all day, but I wasn't very fast, so I used to have to do the sprints with the running club during the summer. Then doing track events, picking up the javelin, doing the long jump, getting points for the club, but also doing a wee bit of cross country running and stuff like that. So I've always been round about running clubs. My mum, when I was going out running, she used to talk about going sprint between lampposts, you know, all these silly wee things. But I'm now doing that now again. But it's just like if you're going out to run, just go up that hill. So doing hill work and stuff like that. So my mum sort of done all that sort of stuff. And then, as I said, playing football, and then mucking around, not really doing much. A couple of races here and there, and then one night I went along to a book signing. Is it? Yeah, what's his name? It was the Pep Guardiola book back in 2012. Guillaume Balaguer. That's
the
the boy.
Spanish
So
football journalist.
aye, so it was a spare ticket for the person I was going with. I didn't know, and he brought along a boy called James Stewart. So that was one of these sliding doors moments of directional change sort of stuff. So me and James hit it off. Then he introduced me to a wee group of runners in Cumbernauld. We done some marathons together. James started doing some training plans for us all, just old school emails, you know, going out. And then I think the plan was Edinburgh Marathon to do sub 4, because I'd done a couple of marathons before then. And then I think one of our mates, he dropped out, couldn't make Manchester, which was a couple of weeks before it. I went down to Manchester. Me and this guy, Brian Boyle, legend, we ran the whole marathon together. And I always remember the last conversation, about 20 miles. It was like, how are you feeling? So, feeling good. How are you feeling? Feeling good. It's like, do you want to push it? So the plan was to finish 3:57.58 or something like that. And we just stormed the last 10k, this the last 6 miles. I think the 2 years came in at 3:48. So that was the 4-hour broken. And from there, it's just escalated for there. The Clyde Stride was my first ultra. And then, yeah, I'd just been a couple of big serious years, I think 2015, 2016, done a lot of running, a lot of races. And it's just, that was, now I'm sort of reviewing sort of what I wanted to do, and looking at, no adventures, but just more going out, finding new places, exploring more and using running to do it. I've said beforehand, stag weekends, you know, any holidays I was checking, is there a race on when I'm on holiday? Or a stag weekend, going out and run in the morning, and then when everyone wakes up, where are we going? It's like, well, I've already got a plan of the town, we're going here there's a bar here, all this stuff. So it was all good with that. And throughout this time as well, I've been like a Jog Scotland lead for the work. I had a wee group there, volunteering at races, done a couple of years at the tail runner for the West Highland Way. I don't know if you've heard of that race, John. I don't know.
It's been mentioned a couple of times.
Because that was the goal at the time, is I want to do the West Highland Way, so I got done a couple of ultras that give me the qualifier for that. But then with COVID, it got cancelled. Then 2021 got cancelled again, and then I've just, I don't know. There's a blog on the Pylon blog in regards to my why, and I think that so it talks around my transformation between the racing and then moving into what I want to do and a wee bit more adventures and just being fit enough to go and do stuff. So I don't know if
it's quite a powerful read, that why, and that blog. So we can link that in the show. We can link that in the show notes as well, because it tells a bit of the story or the build up to the story. We're going to speak about, however, whenever somebody mentions football, we've got to ask, what position did you play?
Oh, I was a left midfielder. That was and then as I got older, I moved. I was a sitting midfielder, then I was a left back, then a centre half. I got further and further back as the older as I got. That was throughout my years, and that bit of competitiveness as well. But also I think that's where, like with the running club and the football, I think that's where I'm sort of talking around as well. We can talk the group running aspect, do you know, being part of a wee squad, a wee team of people. I think that makes a difference as well. So I think that all comes from the running club, but also all my time spent as being a football player, trying to be a football player.
See, when you say that, it actually resonated with me when you were saying the point you took up running was when something had to give. Football on a Tuesday night training with the boys, Thursday night training with the boys, and then game on a Sunday by the sounds of it. But that replacing that social aspect with a social group of runners, you know, so you're still getting a bit of crack and banter, is, for me, that was an important thing. That the fact that I'm no new here in my weekly corn slab with the fallout in the dressing room after a game or whatever like that, which often then just led to banter. In that world.
That wee group for Cumbernauld, we've all sort of, and I think maybe that's when I reflect back as well. Do you know, people have all got their lives to live. Things change. People drift away from running and stuff like that. We're all still in the WhatsApp group. There's still people going off running here, there, and everywhere. I think maybe that was a drop and sort of doing a lot of the races, because the people who I started running with started sort of no longer being there. Like my first ultra, I still remember that was my time I met Neil, the legend that is, God, I forget his second name now.
Mick Ritchie.
He's done hundreds and hundreds of ultras.
Neil McRitchie.
And then Stuart Keaton as well. So that was my first ultra, and I can still remember those names because they ran with me for ages, talked me through it. Their couple of ultras that they'd done, they were sharing their knowledge and stuff like that. And it's just a lot of these names are sort of dropped off now, and it's I don't know if that's sort of not that there's a whole new breed of people coming through, but I don't know if that's sort of when I look back when I drew a list of all my races, I was like, why was that drop off? And I don't know if that was sort of the catalyst of it, because not a lot of people were going to them. I don't know. But that's just me internalising some thoughts coming out there.
Yeah. Football. Who was your footballing hero?
The maestro.
Oh, same here. That's it. Thank you for your time, Des Tinney. That's been a lot.
Tears my eyes when he walked off. I think it was Hibs the last game of the season when he threw his boots in. Thought that was him away.
Yeah,
well, I had another football-related question. It was when you were speaking about your football career, and John asked you what position you played in. But who would you compare your style to? If you could compare you as a football player to somebody, left midfielder, were you winger?
I was Paul McStay.
Right,
I was box to box. I was scoring.
It's that resemblance you've got one.
I could have been a player. As everyone had, I had trials.
Aye, so did I. Trials and tribulations.
It was, in fact, because at the time it was Dundee United and Dundee that were the good teams for developing.
They still are good teams for developing.
Aye, but my only issue was it was through in Glasgow and this red ash stuff that I'm from West Lothian from the grass. How am I meant to play football in this stuff? So that's my excuse for not making it.
Okay. For those of you who haven't guessed already, you could maybe guess the team that Des follows by now, I'm sure as well. But for those of you who need educated, I'd imagine it's Glasgow Celtic. Who is your team? Fair to say?
Yeah.
So,
but we're here to talk about running.
We are. I'm glad you're going to bring it back on because I was ready to belt on.
That's my job.
You were bringing back to football. I thought Des had managed to do us well and got us back onto the running topic, and then you opened the door to football again. I'm not finished with football because Des is wearing a top that links perfectly with this whole season, Stevie boy. It very much does.
Planned.
It's very. I'm very obliged as well for wearing that 2004 Japan home shirt.
Yeah, we're turning Japanesey. But before we what
about John's shirt though, Des, by the way? That's an absolute stoter. That's what we in the business call a snarler.
Yeah.
What is that shirt, John? Because people on YouTube can see that, and people listening who aren't on YouTube, this is going to force them to go over to YouTube and subscribe.
It's having a laugh. And it's the whole point of wearing it. So folk are going to go on YouTube and look at it. This is the shirt you get if you run 100 miles in Berlin. That's one of them.
Run Giraffe.
Mic drop.
Yeah, it's
I
not
love
got
Run Giraffe. I'm a member of Run Giraffe.
So anyway.
Okay, back on the track. Come on.
Back to Des. But thank you for mentioning my shirt. I wore it special. Des,
I love it. Really.
Do you have a running coach, Des?
I do. And poor John, that's all I can say. John Connolly.
He's a quiet lad.
Aye. Away back, again, linking in with James. So I had a great Glenmore, actually. I need to be truthful here. Actually, I've been telling people all these years that I was 4th in Glenmore. When I ran the 12 hour, I was actually 6th. 5th male overall, but I'm sure I was 4th. But if you look at the mileage, I think I done 67 miles or something, 66 miles, and
it was 67 days.
Just we round it up 67. But between me and the third male, it was like it's like 400 meters, and I wasn't supported. I went there myself with a wee table for decathlon. So I think I'm probably massaging it a wee bit, but it was like 2 hours worth of no running because I was setting up, getting my juice, getting my food.
Yep.
And then there was a couple of people there, because you know what Glenmore's like anyway about getting scores and results. So I had no clue what I was doing or where I was placed and stuff like that. There was a guy, Davy Gow, he came across, goes, Des, you're doing brilliant, you're in first place. This is brilliant. Keep on going. And then I done another lap. He's like, you're doing amazing. I can't believe, can you think you can keep this up for 24 hours? I was like, I'm only doing 12. He's like, oh, I didn't care what you're doing then. So great.
so you were winning the 24 race at that point, even though you weren't in it.
Well, I must have been, I
yeah.
kept on going.
Dave,
but
I can
remember
imagine
really
Davy Gow going around and telling all the others, Days, he's winning. All the else is like, shut up,
if you could
Davy.
keep going at this. But then I guess the last loop I was really, really bad. But I hooked up with Lorna McLean, who won the women's, and she got me through the last loop, because I probably would have failed to get back in time if she hadn't dragged me along. We just got in sync. We're just walking, talking, running, talking. Then I got to the loop, and I should have, if I stuck with her, I would have probably been in third place. But I got to the wee small loops. I mean, that's me done. I'll just walk, jog type thing. If I just kept on running with her, I probably could have done a little better. Anyway, that's a long way to say I thought I was good at what I was doing here. I was like, hey, I could be good at this. I just need a coach. And James had joined Paul. So, well, I've met Paul. Enjoy. Looks a good lad. I'll join him. So went with him, but wasn't the right time. I had so much going on, personal life and all that stuff. Didn't really have the commitment. So I then quit being coached, and my running sort of took a back seat for a bit. But then got back in the groove, and it was like, well, I want to get coached again. Went back to Paul. By that time, you've got John, Grant, James were all involved then. So, do you know, I'll go with John. So that's been, I can't actually remember how long it goes. I'm sure John was probably a lot less greyer when I started with him. But yeah, so that's been a few years now, but with John Connolly, and I love it.
Well,
previous guest, friend of the show. He might not call us his friends, but we consider him to be our very good friend. Yes.
Absolutely. I love the fact that you decided on Paul being your coach, because he looked a good lad. That's as much due diligence as we need sometimes. Eh? Well, seems all right, boy. That'll do me.
At the time, Stephen, though, when like going way back there, like there was nobody. Like, do you know what I mean? There's no, and it was really at the time. It's like, well, just elite, or you're going to be running for the UK or GB or something like that. Where you got a coach sort of thing. That's how much I was fooling myself at the time. I thought, but then the whole realising the accountability and all that stuff. That all comes later, and that's why I went back. And you know, I've been running for so long. I'm sure many of us could rustle up a plan for ourselves to follow. Do you know, with weeks to go to an event, what do I need to do? But it's just having that accountability and maybe taking that pressure off, that letting somebody else do all that for you. Then that's it. And I'm in a fortunate position that I can do that. So take the strain.
I think you're right, and there wasn't much there wasn't many people in the procurement framework back in the day, so to speak. So there were slim pickings, but now there's multiple choice, and the fact that you've remained with Pylon, well, that speaks volumes for what you as an individual and an athlete get out of that relationship. So
well, it's not just that though, it's the workshops again, but it's going back to that community aspect again as well. You know, the Pylon XPs, but then also the group runs. I can still always remember the Chile run that we. Maybe I'm getting confused with your one. Has that been copyrighted?
That's trademarked, my boy.
Paul we went in the West Highland Way again. My guy went up a couple of hours on the trail, went back, and his mum and dad had cooked a curry for us all coming back. So at his van, so that was sort of again, that was well before there was any other like group runs and all that stuff. It was just like that was so being at that community and all that stuff. That was the whole reason for going back and going with Paul or well John now.
Can I ask? Sorry, here you go, Stephen.
No, I was going to lead us on to the next segment, but you go for it first if it's related.
It is related, but it's a question I hadn't thought about until just now, and that is the pylon squad, guys and girls. A lot of them, and we've spoken to a number of them, are into adventures rather than races. Was that, and we're going to speak about your adventure on the Camino, but have these sorts of adventures always been in your mind, or is that something that was developed by the sort of stuff that Paul was doing and Graham and John? Was that come from there?
No, but I think it's well encouraged, but it's finding what's the spark, and that's and but as I said, it's more about some of the workshops that Paul puts on. Do you know the XP, but then also there's Zoom calls and stuff like that, and actually digging into you and like I know they're a wee bit deeper than this podcast, but James and Paul's podcasts in terms of stimulating thought and stuff like that. That I think if you really tune into all of that and get right into the guts of why are you doing this and what you really want to do, then I think that's maybe why these things come out of that. But I think also when I reflect back and stuff like that, so it's always been there. It's always like I can remember like the first weekend when I didn't have Leon, didn't have any responsibilities. What I did was I got a megabus down to London on a Friday night, woke up in London the Saturday morning, ran 26 miles around London, and then got the megabus back up the road and back in Edinburgh for the Sunday morning. It's like out of all the stuff I could do, it was to go on a wee mini adventure and do something daft and do a run. So, and that was way back in, I don't know, again, 2012, 13 or something like that. So, but I wasn't ready to listen to that voice in terms of that's what I want to do. And also, there wasn't a lot of people doing that, do you know? So the whole fast packing and the adventure stuff, that's all sort of came later on. And it's maybe a wee bit more confidence with other people doing it.
Yeah, and we've got more access to these types of tales and race or adventure reports now with the internet and stuff. Could also say that Stephen and I can go deep if you want to go deep, Des. We can facilitate that. But let's talk about the Camino. What inspired you? What inspired you to do the Camino?
Well, I know, and this is where I listen to the pod. I do listen to your pod. But even was it 2 weeks ago, Marcus
Smith?
Aye, so all that journaling stuff, and I know there's other coaches now that they swear by it, the daily stoic stuff and all that. I've tried it, doesn't work. But what I try and do is, I don't know if this is going to sound, I dream before I go to sleep. I dream before I dream of what I'm wanting to try and do, what I want to do. So those at the time, these things at the time are about the Pacific Crest Trail and the Appalachian Trail. So it doesn't matter if it's 10, 15 years time. It's like that's the goal. So don't know how I'm going to get there, but that's what I want to do just now. So I started working back. So we need to train for that, but then also gain experience and things. So I was reading a lot of books. I read a lot of books. So reading and what happened, there's stuff in Europe you can go to. It's in the Camino started coming up. So I thought, oh, that's really interesting. And then I looked a wee bit more into that. And then it's sort of sowing the seed. So that was, but it's like, yeah, because I think if you put your dreams out there and continue to think about them, and when I'm going to sleep, I'm thinking about it, and then it's amazing. It's like you buy a red car, do you know, and all of a sudden you see hundreds of red cars. It's a coincidence. Some things that pass by. If your dreams or goals aren't in the forefront of your head, those things might slip past. But if you're constantly thinking about them, you see that opportunity, you go, well, grab that, because that's going to get me where I want to go. So that's, I don't journal, but I sort of dream about what I want to do, and that's the Camino came from that. And then even further back from that, another step back was what I did last year, was the John Muir Way over the 3 days. So before I can run 500 miles, I better do something a wee bit smaller. So that's why I picked sort of John Muir Way, because it bypasses my house. If anything goes wrong, I've not got far to wander. It's accessible, so it's just the next step is the Camino, then the next step is something else. So it was really just it's a stepping stone until I read a whole lot more sort of into it. But aye, the original plan was for me and April, my partner, to go down, drive down, and she was going to be there at the end of the day, so I'd just be running to the van. But I think, again, reading a lot of the stuff and then the experience of the John Muir Way, so I don't want that. Like I'd be worrying about where she parked, how the dogs, has she got something to eat, is she going to be waiting for me, and if I wanted to feel good and I wanted to run further, or if I wanted to stop at a chapel for a wee bit longer, I wanted to be able to have the freedom to do that, rather than being almost, and I need to plan, because the whole plan was to not have a plan for the Camino. So you'd have to build that in if somebody was going to be waiting for you. So I ended up that's going myself and April, my mum and dad and Leon were at the end. So yeah, that was sort of the start of it. That's how it came around.
The Cambridge word of the year for 2024 is manifest. Are you a manifester, Des?
Yes, I think I am. I think that's the word, isn't it, for what I do?
Dream. Nah, it's just me. You're saying having a dream. It's about dreaming big as well, but you've articulated that brilliantly, speaking well backwards or forwards. John Muir Way to the Appalachian Trail, Pacific Crest Trail, but it's part of the journey, and who knows where it'll end? Who knows?
A minute, John, see when you're on, is there no a saying called manifest destiny?
There is now, man. Maybe you've just created that.
No, it definitely is. That is a saying, manifest, and it just fits very, very too neatly into Des's name.
You're not the first person to say that before, Stephen.
Okay, sound.
Potentially potentially the episode title.
Manifest destiny was the idea that the United States was destined by God to expand its dominion across North America. Let's Google that. Sorry, AI that, whatever you do now. I don't reckon what you do now, by the way. You kind of Google it and you end up AI in it.
What you do now is you bring it back to running.
Well, I seen North America, and then I thought the Appalachian Trail, and I thought there's a message in there somehow. For who does a stepping stone to 500 miles, and the 500 miles is a stepping stone to something else? That's what I was hearing. Were you hearing that, John?
It was, but also I want to know, how long is the Camino?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you tot up all my days running, it comes to 496 miles. 4 shy 500. I didn't know that until I put it in a spreadsheet.
So, and tell us more about the geographic location of the Camino, because there's I've heard of it and I've looked into it more, but there'll be people going, never heard of the Camino, and what was it that drew you to that particular route in particular?
Well, it was when I found out the Camino, I did then have a wee look at it, and it then started pulling me in by other ways, because it's a pilgrimage. So it was all about, I think it's the bones of St. James are buried in the cathedral, allegedly. So I think there's 10 altogether, 10 Camino ways. So I've done the French way. When I think back now, I don't know if I maybe have done the North way, because then that would go across Bilbao and Santander along the coast. and I love the coast. But yeah, so it starts off south of France, and then over the Pyrenees into Spain, and then on the top end of Spain, all the way to Santiago. So it's very, parts are very hilly, parts are very flat. But as I said, that drew me in a wee bit more because of the pilgrimage stuff. And so again, the guidebook I had sort of homework to do, to actually look at why you doing this. Are you doing it as you get asked when you start off, are you doing it as a adventure, or are you doing it as a pilgrimage? So then I did actually start looking at it, being a lapsed Catholic, saying, well, why am I lapsed? And start looking at my faith and stuff like that. And it's quite good because there's a lot of stuff throughout the Camino where people have got messages and stuff like that. So someone's like, wow, that's really thought provoking. So for the next half hour, you're just thinking about, oh, that was really mindful what somebody scribbled on a bit of graffiti, which I've got hundreds of photos of. But so it took, on my preparation, there was a wee bit of around that as well, in terms of, am I doing it for sort of God, or try to find God, or doing stuff like that as well? So I don't want to all gets deep and meaningful, but that was sort of some of the thoughts going in as well, to make it worthwhile, as well as other stuff like I'm looking on a lot about minimalism and stuff like that. So it's looking at, so I've had thoughts in terms of what am I going to do when I come back. So actually, before I went, I done a sort of recce of the house of all the stuff that I've got, garage fully closed, and as I said, memorabilia and stuff like that, and have like, what have I got there? So when I was actually on the Camino, I could actually think about, instead of going, do you know what, I'm going to go into the garage and I'm going to tidy that up, I actually had, like, what am I going to do with that box that's got that in it, rather than a generalisation. So I've done a wee bit of prep work because I knew I was going to have 2 weeks in my inner thoughts, so I might as well use them. So that was yeah, so that was sort of that level. So as well as having the adventure, very much out of my comfort zone, I also had sort of another layer in terms of my faith, but also what I was going to do when I came back. Discuss.
Well, no, my first question is the garage in a better order?
No, yet. But I know what I'm doing with it, though. I know what I'm doing with it. There's a time and place to sell things.
I did hear a look at the routes and stuff, and I did kind of know what route that you'd taken, only because we were following your progress, so to speak. I noticed there's a route, John, that starts in Lisbon.
There's different, I think, as
But
Des said, it's all different. Yeah.
There's just one that jumped out at me,
Yeah. I get that. But Des's tracker was brilliant as well. I loved watching it, and it was amazing to look at. Well, we're looking at the map, and I think the distance you went, comparing that, I was scrolling the map up a bit and looking at other countries and the actual distance. But a question, 496, did you not think about rounding it up?
Well, I didn't know until I'd done the spreadsheet.
Because that could have been your song, man. I've seen some of your reels and you're using everywhere with Mac. You could have had the Proclaimers in there, man.
I know. Do you know, usually a day run up the drive to round it up. But there's some days, I can remember one where it was 6.99 and it was like, I'm dead. I just need to get into this hostel. So, do you know, it's like, well, I don't even care. Dump off.
Can we talk about a typical, maybe there wasn't a typical day, but what's jumping in my head right now as well, 2 weeks, 496 miles. That's a fair old scalp of mileage every day. Was there I do this. I'm going to ask you a number of questions. You can choose the order in which you want to answer them. What was the weather like? What was the digs like? And was there a typical day? Over to you.
The weather was warm the first 3 or 4 days. Then I got into a massive storm for a couple of days. And then after that, it was very grey. And then the last couple of days, it absolutely just chucked in all the time.
So running wise, did that suit you then? That grey overcast?
It did, but then like the wind and the stormy day, I lost flags and stuff like that I had in my backpack. So that was my Scottish flag and my Celtic Foundation flag, who was raising funds for, that all got blown away by the 60, 70 mile an hour winds. No one else was on the trail that day. It was just me coming down up in the hills. And also I had like the what's the poncho type thing for the Vietnam. Just that I used to just put that on, so I could still run, and it was not as hot and sweaty as, because it was warm, but it was wet. And the sun, the first few days, then I still got a wee bit of colour about me, but that was enjoyable, because when you're going up the hill, you want to be able to see the views and stuff like that. Do you know, that was didn't want it to be overcast. So I hope that answers to them. The typical day, well, the first day was a disaster, because I got to the passport office, because you get a passport to get stamped. Got that somewhere. So I got to 12:02. So sorry, we are closed. Come back at 2, because they take a big long lunch. But my day was, I need to get over the Pyrenees into the next hostel, sort of thing. So I was 2 hours late for that. So once I got my passport stamped and off I went, that was the first day. And it's a big, massive monastery. It's absolutely gorgeous across the Pyrenees. Staying there, but 4 floors. And because I arrived so late, I was down in the basement. It was freezing. Absolutely freezing. That was me worrying about, oh no, is this going to be what it's going to be like? And I'd read it, I don't know how many times, but I didn't really truly appreciate it. But every place you go in, you take your shoes off and leave them at the front door. I didn't have any other shoes with me, so I was just walking about in bare feet and stuff like that. So I was down in the basement, and 2 floors up was the showers and stuff like that. So my normal day was get back to this. Because I was always late, I was always in the top bunk, so that was always murder, because it was all bunk beds. So usually a day would be waiting to hear someone else move in the dorm, because I didn't want to be the first one to jump down and be that guy who wakes everybody up. So strip the bed, pack my bag, and then just start running. So run to the next town. That might be an hour or 2, and then stop for breakfast, and then run again to the next town, maybe get lunch. Round about that time, I would then start plotting my estimated time finishing, and then working out, I need to phone ahead to book a hostel, or if the town I'm going to if there's plenty of beds there, I don't need to do that. Is there washing machines there? Is there a meal there? And that was basically, so once I then got there, I would get my shower, plug my stuff in, put clothes on for my next day, and then go down and get dinner. Then find the next day's map on Garmin, download it, then go to sleep. And just routine all starts again. So that was basically it.
And what was what was your time window?
Well, so this is I had that in my head. Is that like an 11 and a half hours every day is daylight. So I was thinking, well, that's fine, 11 and a half hours to do 35 miles. It's a breeze, do you know? And I'm saying that as the bubble that we're in as ultra runners. So you think 11 hours to do 35 miles, it's easy to do. But when you take off, you're stopping for food, stopping for the toilet. Then I've got your life admin in terms of like the places I was going to. Some of them, if you're not there by 5 o'clock, your stuff doesn't get washed. And then if I'm also arriving after that, it's not got time, because it's colder at night. Your clothes don't have time to dry, so I'm having to finish earlier. So sometimes I was finishing at 4 o'clock. So then your running window is drastically dropped at that point. So it was some days, like the couple of nights to go, I think I finished at 8:20 at night. But there was other days I stopped at 4, because the usual ones when you're walking is you finish at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and you spend time wherever you're stopped and you have your meal and you do a wee bit of the touristy stuff. Because I was doing basically double there what they were doing, I was always arriving at 4 or 5 o'clock. So all the lower bunks were taken as well, so I'm having to huddle up to the top bunk and stuff like that. And because they've stopped bed bugs and stuff getting passed along the process, you're not allowed your bags up in the bed either. So it's like, took me maybe 3 or 4 nights to actually remember to take everything I needed the first time I got to the top of my bunk, because having to go back up and down all the time. But yeah, the accommodation, there was a couple of days that I actually paid a wee bit extra and I got main room. That was just brilliant, you know, sprawled out in a bed, you could walk to the bathroom, you're not sharing it with anybody, the shower and stuff like that. That was so I've done that a couple of times, and that was just probably more for my own well-being as well, just a time to just, you know, chill and relax. There's nobody else around, I could just sit and be by myself and be quiet and stuff like that. So yeah, so it's mix and match.
That sounds rather exhausting, let alone the running part. You know,
was the easy part was putting the 2 feet in front of each other.
And it's like, do you know, it's like I hate to move 496 miles from there to there, and obviously that's the crux of what you're doing, but there was a hell of a lot going on out with the running part and that admin. You said life admin, but also the admin of getting someplace sorted for the day after and making sure that there was scran available. We'll get to scran at some point, undoubtedly, but that all takes energy as well, and even getting up to a top bunk with all those miles on your legs, and then realizing when you're at the top bunk that you've left something in your backpack down at the bottom, and just the effort it takes to do that. I can wholly relate to how that must have been feeling. John, you want to come in, I can tell by the look in your physog.
And there's a question.
Yeah, physog.
I've written pressure. When Des was talking, I've written the word pressure down, because there is, and you've described it well there, Stephen, there's an energy that gets used doing that. I've got another question as well. You're not worried that somebody would whip your shoes if you're leaving your shoes at the door. But then I'm also thinking too, I'm trying to envisage myself in that situation. I'd be wary of how much water I was taking on board for going to a top bunk in case I need a pee and I've got to come back down and then go back. All that sort of stuff gets in your head. And
I'd be wearing a big pair of tennis pants.
The thing, some of the dorms, like, it's not even just like a wee walk to the toilet. It's down another floor, because all the dorms are on one floor and all the toilets are down the bottom.
They're not selling it to me here, Dave.
I'm afraid I'd be getting a 2-litre bottle of juice or something and using that as my lavvy. That's what I'd be doing. But no, but it does. I hadn't appreciated as you've called it, the life admin. I hadn't appreciated that side of it at all. You mentioned as well minimalist. It's me. I just run in the same place. I would just do that. I wouldn't worry about getting washed or anything like that. But did you have a rotation, a running kit, or?
I'd 4 sets of running gear.
One pair of shoes. One pair of shoes.
So yeah, there was a few days where I was able to, because it was nice, I had socks all tied to my pack, because they hadn't dried properly, but everything else was fine. So there was a wee bit of pressure. There was one day that is it Pamplona? Went to 3 different hostels.
Like where the bulls are.
Aye. Right. So there was three places I went to, and they were all full up. So the hostels, so it was like 4th on the list. I was like, shit. So after a big massive run, it's like you're in the city centre, then it's another mile outside, so I had to retrace I'd actually ran past it. But then that was great because it was two old German women who ran this wee hostel type thing. So there was only 20 beds, and that was brilliant. Just the food, and again, it was brilliant. See, going down for your dinner. So you've got places that do the pilgrim dinner. So it's like usually about €13. So you get your starter, main, and your dessert for €13. And so down there, then you some of them done like a €5 breakfast where you got some toast and orange juice and tea and stuff like that. So, but that was the first one I'd experienced there, and the gang and everyone coming round and everyone talking and sharing stories and all that stuff. That was that was good, and it was quite good the first couple of days. So that was my first couple of days, but to them, they'd be maybe day 5 or day 6 if they're walking. So at that point, there was still sort of everyone doesn't know each other, so that it was easier to communicate and talk away and stuff like that. But further on, it was it got a wee bit more difficult because people had formed their wee packs, you know. So
cliques.
Aye, so basically, so it's sometimes a wee bit harder to sort of because they're all dinner together and what. So, but also it gave me some great ideas because I didn't fully realise that so although they're all joining together and walking together, well, they don't walk together. They say, right, I'll see you at the end of the day. So people go and do their own thing, and then they'll text each other and say, well, we've booked into this place. Do you want to get a room with you guys? So they meet up for dinner and stuff like that, but during the day, everyone goes and does their own thing. And then they swap stories at the end. So that was a good part, and that was good. There was a few good meals where everyone was just a big massive table and everyone was just talking away, and it was the chat was flowing. That was brilliant. That was a really good part of it.
Bavarian.
Oh, well, part of the pilgrim meal, you get a bottle of wine. I don't drink wine.
For €13?
Aye.
Yeah.
Brilliant, man. 3-course meal and a bottle of wine.
Honestly, the sizes, the portion, the spaghetti bolognese for your starter was enough.
What?
But then, then you got your chicken and chips for your main, and then some ice cream. The portions were massive, but then I'm glad they were because I was going through a few calories.
Aye. And see, was there anybody else running it when you were there?
There was one guy, and I smoked him down the trails. Not that I'm competitive. I was coming into this wee village up in the mountains, and I stopped because any fountain, I just filled up my water for the fountains. So I was filling the water up, and I just seen this guy get up. So he's looking a bit European retro runner with a big long sock, the bright yellow long socks, and the outfits. He's definitely running lycra and all that stuff. So he's seen me and he started running. So he's only done that because he's seen me. I'm going to catch him. so that was it. So that was pretty technical going down. I was just prancing along like I've just gone down a Monroe. It was excuse me, just then he was nowhere to be seen.
All light-footed and all.
Like come out and go.
I'm imagining this boy, a French boy or whatever like that, getting chased with this Scottishman with socks hanging off every fucking orifice. The sock man, the Camino, big football socks and all. Boy was probably shiting his pants.
It was this guy with socks hanging off him. Brilliant. His pals think he's hallucinating or something. No,
he's on the French version of Young Hearts Run Free podcast talking about Des.
You mentioned there about the fountains. I watched a thing about the fountains. Some of the fountains you get wine out of them.
You certainly do.
Aye.
Wine fountains.
Aye, seriously.
This pilgrimage is getting better now. I'm back in.
I've got a video.
I'll convert.
So did you partake in? Maybe you said you didn't drink wine. Did you have a
Aye,
wee?
if it's free, I was drinking it.
When in Rome, and all that. You
That
know?
must take some carbs in it, surely.
I stopped in the place we were staying that night. I left when it's pitch black. So I had my head torch and still looking at my watch to find the map. Then I seen this, just a guy up ahead. The odd street light was there. So he was lost. So I was like, Billy for Brazil. You can just call me Billy. Is that okay? Suits me.
Love it.
So he didn't have a map. He was just looking for signs. Didn't have a head torch though. There's signs everywhere, but in the pitch black, he's not going to see it. So I walked with him, and then we got to the wine, and this was like 7:45, and it's no meant to start serving till 8. But we got there and was like, oh, it's already open. So I had a wee plastic cup attached to my bag. So I poured that and then gave him a drink. Then this, I think it was for Japan, he came in and I gave him my cup. So he drank it. And then there was all these other people were coming and it was like my cup was getting passed around. And I was like, right, I need to get out of here. And then he's like, no, you can't, don't go. So he had to then pour it to me and give it to me. I was like, this is like my third cup of wine because I'd been passing it around and folk had been like, right, oh, drink that one as well. So I think I got lost after I left that. Just for a small bit, and then I found the trail again after I tramped over a field. But yeah, there's a wine fountain and a water fountain, and you can it gets filled up with, I don't know, 200 litres a day or something like that by the winery that's there.
Brilliant, man. Absolutely. Billy for Brazil. I love it, man. I would love it. Oh, right.
Well, we're going to say memorable moments and encounters that you had along the way. Des, I think you've just rattled out a few belters there. I'm now imagining John signing up to do this and just stoking along the trail half jaked.
Singing my way along the Camino.
There was another bit as well though.
Go for it.
Near the end, there was a group, so I think it was 3 couples, and they were walking along drinking wine. And they were stopped, and lucky they can all speak English because I was really embarrassing my pidgin Spanish. It sounded like Del Boy, El Casa. It's quite embarrassing. But they were so stop. Where are you going? So I'm running. So what? Have a drink of wine. So no. And then they all started drink it. That must have been, well, that's what I imagine they were saying. It was their equivalent. So it's like so I took a drink here. Then I stopped, and the boy go, no. So the passing cameras filming it. So I then had to take another drink. So that was and I wish now though that I did. I think in my head, like, that's time. I need to keep going. I wish now I've got over 1,000 pictures, but I don't think I've only got one because I learned my lesson for that, and I got pictures later on. But I didn't get a picture of the group, or even so. I wish I'd sort of done that sort of stuff. But the people it was that made it. It's like, but also there's like made you reflect a lot as well, because I met a woman from Asheville in North Carolina. So I was there a couple of years ago. But it was talking about the floods. So she wasn't sure if her husband was going to fly out because the floods had just hit. She was also like pretty upset as well because she couldn't post anything on Facebook. She felt she couldn't because she goes, I'm having the most wonderful time here. All these new experiences, meeting people, but back home, my family and friends haven't got any electricity, haven't got any water. The last thing they want to see is me posting stuff about the Camino while there in disaster in Asheville. So see, actually, it was great. Actually, I can speak to you guys and tell you how much I'm loving this because I can't tell anybody else, sort of thing. And then she left, and there was 2 other people there, 2 other women. And they were like, again, sorry to bring it back to football, but it wasn't my fault. So you're Scottish, and yes, I said from Glasgow. So yes. So this could be good, bad. I was like, oh, what's going to happen here? So Henrik Larsson. So yes, you're fine. We like him. And then she was like, yeah. So Daniel Mistonovic, big baldy guy. What was his name?
Aye, centre half.
Aye. So
Aye.
because he
I know
stays in
the
our
guy.
village. He stays in our village. So all right. So again, it's just. And then they started talking about the fact that they stopped early yesterday to watch the Swedish game because it was the Euros on as well. So it was just that sort of stuff. And then said I met a couple of Scottish guys as well, the only Scottish guys I met. But that was actually stopped and walked with them for a good hour because it was just so. It was good to just hear your twang and not have to concentrate on what they're saying. And you weren't trying. I could speak normal as well because I knew that they could understand me. That was just a bit of relief as well. But aye, so those were the people stuff, but also other moments like the morning, the stars in the sky. It was just because there was no light pollution, just running, looking up, it's absolutely amazing. Like there was an old Roman road, the oldest Roman road in Spain, still there. That was absolutely just to know that you're standing on a bit of history for thousands of years ago. Also, I spoke earlier on, like, see the tunnels going underneath roads and stuff like that. So they're in the middle of nowhere, absolute nowhere. So it's only through hikers that are going there. So the messages and stuff like that, the graffiti, the artwork, that was always good. And as I said, I've got loads of pictures of them. It was funny in a way as well because you could see there's a lot of folk going through a lot of shit. Pardon my French. It was like, what was it? If you don't know by now, don't trust anyone. It's like, oh, something's happened to them. So it was some stuff like that. But the chapels, going and meeting nuns, getting miraculous medals, and seeing trails twist and turn away in the distance. I know people hate that. I absolutely love that. See when you can see where you're going to be running to. I absolutely die for that. In the little villages, some of them you're like you are in Switzerland, do you know, up in the Alps, up in the Pyrenees, but it was absolutely gorgeous with the sun. And I don't know if I posted a video on Instagram that said because I'm going through all my 404 videos, but it was one day just running down this hill. As I said, the sun was shining, fields, could see the trail, and Fleetwood Mac was on, and it was just like, do you know, I want to capture this because it was just absolutely, this is what I wanted this 2 weeks to be. It was just absolutely running with the flow. I was feeling great. It was just like, this is amazing. This is what I want to do for the rest of my days. Do you know? So I went, stopped. I'm going to capture this in the video. So that was a lot of that sort of stuff. But aye,
just that bottle at moment by the sounds of it, they are just
yes.
Yeah, you capture magic, so that'll be something. Wait, is there any place that you pass through that you go to yourself, I want to go back there and visit? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, Leon definitely,
Yeah.
and it's not Bruges, it's Burgess. Is it
Burgess,
Burgess?
aye.
Aye, so they've because that was again. So I took some time out. It's like, well, do you know, I'm going to be in Leon. They've got a massive cathedral. 3 hours spent round Leon, just in the cathedral and all the grounds and stuff like that. That because it was around that time, the Gothic period. I got the tour. They learned how to build up the way. So that was all the towns started competing against each other to see who could build the best cathedral. So that stuff is absolutely, they're gorgeous. And just hearing the stuff, the stained glass windows, how one side was about that side gets the sun, so that's the light, and that was all New Testament stuff. And then the other side doesn't get the light, so that was all pale blue because that was Old Testament, because that was before Jesus came, stuff like that, because he was the light. And it's just that all those sort of things, man, just absolutely. But even some of the wee villages, just like if I had a car going off that, bypass road and just going up and down the wee roads and going into the wee towns, it would be something I'd probably go back to do, because that was just amazing.
Can I ask, you mentioned there about that lady from America in Facebook, and that's one of the things that the ways that people communicate through like social media. And you mentioned about meeting a couple of Scottish guys and being comfortable in your own twang and knowing to think about what you're saying, like, do you understand me and all that kind of stuff, and you're comfy with that. What about, and you're running, so you're not seeing the same people every day. What about contact with folk at home, people supporting you? Did you experience that? Was there messages coming your way?
Nothing at all. No, but when you say that though, John, I think I did miss out on that bit, because I could see, as I said, near the end of my run, so people have been maybe walking for 3-4 weeks, the bonds and the chats and all that stuff, you really miss out on that, because I'm only seeing somebody and I've never seen them again. Yeah. So I missed out on that, but the messages, I know, long time listener and all that jazz, but if you think about it, send the message. I know you guys have been saying that for years, but it really did make a big, massive difference. And then, yeah, it was just, before I went, it was good as well, because maybe step back a wee bit. Before I went, I didn't actually tell anyone there that many people for work. So I've just said I'm going away on holiday. But when it came to it, so well, I'm now putting me out of office on. I'll not be here next week because I'm off on leave. And during meetings and stuff, oh, what are you doing? So, well, I'm doing the Camino. So, wow. So it's like, then people say, oh, you need to get an email out, tell people you're doing that and stuff like that. And it was good, because it was almost me. That was the first time getting out the ultra bubble, in terms of telling normal people, so what the hell, you're doing that over, get that out, that people need to know about that, and they'll sponsor you and stuff like that. So people did do that. But then that was also I got a lot of good feedback, not feedback, but like, well done, hope you do well. But then throughout the next couple of weeks, just the messages coming in, the Instagram, I try to post as much as I could, but even getting like screenshots of other chats that I'm no part of, but people saying, look what he's doing, that's brilliant. And just that was all brilliant, and it just kept you going, sort of thing. And because there was, and we'll talk about dark times and stuff like that, but it's just looking into that, and well, using people are actually following the tracker. Do you know, the WhatsApp groups I'm in, people talk, you've got to zoom it in 5 times to find out, to see where he is, sort of thing. And then it was like, you only need to zoom in 3 times or something like that, that he's getting closer. So no, it was brilliant, and you're always getting Wi-Fi. It astounds me, in the middle of absolutely nowhere, you're still getting a perfect signal there. So I was always getting messages and stuff like that. So it was unbelievable, the support. Really, you guys say it all the time, it makes a difference. If you think about them, send a message.
There you go. Thank you very much for saying that. That'll encourage other people to do that as well. You touched on dark times. Do you ever feel like chucking it?
I wouldn't say chuck it. I would say, just when you were talking about maybe pressure there, I had, my flight back was on the Monday, and so I don't know if I've not really explained, the Celtic Foundation I was raising funds for, they had a set of walkers that were doing it as well. So I changed my dates to coincide with them. So they were starting for Sarria, which is 100k to go. They were starting on the Monday or the Tuesday, and I was wanting to meet them before they got into Santiago so we could all walk in together. So that was a wee bit of pressure put on myself to make sure I got there. But in reality, I could have just said, nah, I'll go on the Saturday. I'll finish on the Sunday. Or my flight's not to the Monday, so technically I had a couple of days to build in there. So it was more, will I try and just stretch it out? Do I need to put the pressure on me to get there for the Friday? So it wasn't dark times. I picked up a right Syrian, a sore injury, and I was thinking it's maybe a stress fracture type stuff, just by going down trails too fast. They were maybe too technical. Maybe it's when I was chasing that French boy. That's what I get. And then that day, I finished up the place I'd wanted to stay. 3 of them were closed, wee towns. 3 hostels were closed. I had to do an extra 7 miles that day. And it was just like, nah. The injury sort of came up from there, I think, because of the extra pressure I'd put on it. And I was worried about that, so I started popping pills. And so you should have seen me, guy out of Usual Suspects, jumping down from the top bunk, trying to walk until the tablets kicked in. Then I could run. But then if you had seen me first thing in the morning, you're like, he's not going anywhere. There's no way he's doing it. So if the pain hadn't went away, that'd have been another decision to get made. Do I stop, get a taxi, or what do I do? Because there's loads of people doing it. Like I didn't realise how much so many people are getting their bags transferred. You know, they're just packing their day bag. You've got the through hikers that are taking all their stuff. You've got other people getting taxis. There's other people saying, "Oh, I'm just getting a taxi from here to the next town because that's got a train station. I'm getting the train to Sarria, then I'm going to start again," sort of thing. So there was so many different options, but then that also started playing in my head, saying, "Oh well, do you know, if you are delayed, Des, you could just do that. You could just get the train. Who'd know? Who would know? Who cares?" Do you know? So
the tracker all of a sudden.
He's went fast that day.
He's a 2-minute mile.
He's got the segment.
And then you're thinking, well, who is actually watching that? Is there people watching?
Why?
Yeah, so that was. I got the stats. I got the stats for them. Yeah, so it wasn't really dark times. It was more just
working on him just to watch it on the big screen. Well, he was. I kid you not. He was booking a meeting room just to watch Des.
I was bringing folk in though, wasn't he? Wasn't he sitting in the room myself? Look at this guy, what he's doing. But see, you mentioned about popping pills. That affect your belly?
Have I spoken to you?
No. But it can happen.
He's talking from past experience himself.
When I met up with the foundation people, they had a nurse, a doctor with them, because they were a planned real event. And the doctor had said, I think we should try and get you an appointment. Because I think there was
Whoa.
blood coming out everywhere.
Must have been a conversation before that was said. What happened?
Well, they said, how you been? I was like, well, I've got a bit of a sore leg, but I don't think that's my main issue. I think my main issue is the fact that there's been different colours of stuff coming at me that isn't meant to be that colour.
Red wine will do that to you.
So, because I think, because I was just paracetamol, then went on to something else. It's like that, and then, but going, I know you love the food part, but the really all I was living off was water and Coca-Cola. So, and I'm not a great cola drinker anyway. The odd time at an end of an ultra, yes, brilliant. But that was basically all I could sort of get. Or I'm not drinking pints, so it's like, I'll just drink Coca-Cola. So my diet was bread, eggs, ham and cheese, basically, in the morning and for lunch, and then washed down with Coca-Cola and water and ibuprofen. So it wasn't a good concoction that was put into my system.
You got to take us to Jobbies. Is that where we're going here?
No, nice.
No, but hey, it's part of the adventure, man. You know, and
Full disclosure.
So what did the Celtic doctor say? It wasn't the Celtic doctor that goes on the pitch at the
No,
weekend,
no,
I'm sure.
it's just
But-
the company they were working with.
Celtic doctor.
I just basically, there was probably a rip inside my stomach and I was bleeding.
Oh, man.
But then by the time, a couple of days had passed, as soon as I seen that, I was like, that's why they say don't take ibuprofen in ultras. So as soon as that, I was like, quit that, back to paracetamols, just tried to eat a wee bit better, came off the Coca-Cola, cleaned up my diet a wee bit. That was a wee bit easier as well because we're now going into bigger towns.
Right.
So there's bigger selection stuff, there's bigger supermarkets and stuff like that as well. So you could actually get a healthier food.
Can I ask a question about ibuprofen? Because I know there's a lot of races say do not use ibuprofen, right? I've always wondered why. I know they say use paracetamol, but does it, maybe you know this, does it weaken the lining in your stomach then?
I don't know, but basically, as soon as I said that, the doctor knew. It's like, so, aye.
Okay.
That's why that's why, like, I've done Jedburgh a couple of times. That always sticks out to me. They're very strict in regards to what you can take. And that's the reason for that. You know, there's a reason for that.
So now we've got two massive golden nuggets. Always send a message and then you take ibuprofen in an ultramarathon. Thank you, Des. Thank you. Okay. Stevie boy.
Well, you're covering 496 miles, averaging 35 miles a day
Yeah.
on one pair of trainers. Were they split new trainers out the box on day one? Right.
Yes.
And what were on your feet?
Nike Invincible 3s.
Junkie boys.
Absolutely.
Like max cushioning numbers.
Yes. I was a Coca guy right from the very start when they were real clown shoes. But now I had a chance to that. I think I was away on holiday. I think I was in the States. And Invincible was kind of the back store at the Nike, the broom boxes.
Oh, aye,
like,
extra bit off and all.
I
know the bit.
$50 or something like that. So, and as soon as I put them on, I was like, oh, these are comfortable. So I've had 1, 2, and 3. I've tried another couple during the year just to test out to see what I would like. I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to go with these shoes. I'm going to risk it. Some of the downhills would probably have been a bit dicey with the wet mud, but fortunately that didn't happen when I was running. So in the cushioning, because that was one of my fears. It's like when I had a chat with a member of the running community who's already been on here recently. They've finished Glenmore recently, and there's a picture of them in stirrups getting doctored by 2 experts on feet.
Yeah.
So speaking to Rachel on the Tuesday, and so what are you going to do about your feet? You got what are you taking for that? I was like, I have no idea. I've never had a blister in my life. So the whole feet treatment, I was like, I don't know. I'll need to go into YouTube, because if I get a blister, I don't know where to pop it, where to wrap it, what ointment to put on it. I've not got a clue. I'll wait till it happens. When it happens, I'll go into YouTube. Blister free, not a blister. 500 miles.
That is a big testimony to Des Tinney's iron hoofs.
Hey, be careful, we're talking about iron and different things here. But I have to ask a question about socks then, because socks play a part. What kind of socks were you wearing, Des?
Merino wool. Is it Beluga? What's that? Swedish
Beluga.
ones?
We call them beluga.
Beluga. Aye.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And was that the same? Do you have like 3 or 4 pair of the same socks?
Aye, the different. Because I only bought a new bag and a pair of trainers. That was all the new stuff I bought. Everything else was just tops and socks. So the socks were, I think think I actually still owe James Stewart a pair. This is how old these ones are. The lab in Kilsyth. It was a rainy day. I think he was doing a marathon or something. I joined him for maybe 10k or something like that, and I was running home, but my feet were absolutely soaking, and he had a spare kit. So I take them, it's fresh. So I don't know how long that was. You're talking years. So yeah, so the full different ranges, different colours, but they're all Beluga Merino wool.
James was just messaging me about that yesterday, actually.
It still goes on a bit. Well, were you putting anything on your feet, like an ointment, or just socks and shoes, and that was you? That's amazing, man. 500 miles.
And it was moist. It was moist at times as well.
Oh,
yeah,
my feet were soaking at times, aye.
Aye, that's well. There you go, Nike Invincible 3s.
Well, you should thank your mother and father for the jeans you've got that help you run about and blister free. That's quite brilliant, man. Definitely. I love that. Yeah. I love that. You mentioned religion, spiritual stuff, chapels, cathedrals. Did anything happen for you? Religious, if you're happy to talk about that.
Aye, I think one of the things in the tunnel really stuck with me. And there must be so many different religions out there. But it was like God doesn't cause the problems, religions do. It was something round about those wording. Yep. So what I've sort of, and I actually only listened to it today because I'm embarrassed by my own voice and I hate hearing it, so I'll never actually listen to this pod. But I gave myself a voice note. I actually just listened to it, and I can remember, so I'd already sort of prepared this, but then I didn't realise that I'd called it the Jesus Christ filter on my on the voice note. So it's basically looking at decisions, my life and stuff like that, and saying, what would Jesus Christ do? You know, so it's no religion, it's just like, what's a good thing to do? And make that decision. And so what would Jesus Christ do, using the Jesus Christ filter? That was sort of what my ending. So do I still believe, is there a God? Who knows? But if I go through life, the rest of my life, thinking around that, what would he do? Then I don't think I'll go far wrong.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that, man. That's
Amen.
Yeah. That's a personal reflection. And maybe a deeper question. Has it changed you, your 2 weeks on the Camino?
No, because I think, see, when I read a lot of this stuff and when I mentioned it to people, it's like saying, oh, is that a midlife crisis? Do you know, is that divorce? Is that a job career, your career? Do you know, that's when people go on these pilgrimages, go and find themselves and stuff like that. But I'm in the situation where, no, great relationship, great job, son, family, I'm a really good place. I do a lot of self-awareness stuff, so it was, I was sort of in a good place to go there. So I didn't really, nothing major life-changing, but it was an opportunity to process stuff and look at what I want to do in the future. Like, for example, I go back to the PCT and Appalachian Trail. They're no longer on my bucket list. I really loved the fact that I was walking through towns and history and seeing stuff. Do you know, so you don't get that in the PCT or the AP. Do you know, you're in the middle of nowhere. You've got to get a taxi to the nearest town for your supplies and stuff like that. I don't think that's one of the reasons I've done the Camino, to test myself, to find that out. But going into these villages, looking at the conditions of them, the chapels, the people there, and it's just that's what I want to do. And I'm not going to get that in the PCT. There'll be parts that I'll still want to go and do. There's Crater Lake and there's parts I've run already. So there's parts that I'll maybe do a day hike or something like that in the future. But I'm no longer sort of thinking around, I'm going to take 3 months out of my life and walk 3,000 miles. So that sort of stuff, that it was already in my head, so it just came out. It's just, I've realised that self-awareness now, that's what I want to do.
So is it an apt time to ask you then what those new horizons are? If they're no Appalachian and the Pacific coast?
Yeah, well, I think, like I've got a few fast races at the start of the year because I need to try and get speed back, because I've got a plod, and even like I've just joined Girvan Harriers, and two of them said to me the other day separately, so they got carbon shoes? No. I said, I'm just really heavy at the moment. Like plodding, my whole gait's changed because I'm just plodding along. But again, go back to one of your previous guests. It got me thinking, because I actually listened to it when I was there. The lassie who's the air hostess, who's done Badwater, aye. So she was talking about the application process. When you've got to write an application to get into these races and stuff like that. So, do you know what? I'm going to flip that. So races need to apply to me. Do you know? It's I want to know what their volunteers get. I want to know how they treat the environment. Are they trees instead of teas? Do you know what money? What's their race diet? Are they a big massive company whose chief execs are getting loads of money by charging us stupid amounts of money for running, or is it a small, well-run running club type stuff? So that was sort of flip it. They need to apply to me for me to run their races. So that's what's their credentials? No, I don't want to go deep morals and stuff like that. But what are they doing for the money? Because I know I've been part of Antonine Trail races. Part of the committee to organise. You guys are on them. You know the money that comes in, what you do with it, where it goes. When you look at some of these prices, it's like, where are they? Where's that money going? And you know, the Antonine Trail, everything we gave, we put it back into the charity we were raising for. So it's just I want to look at races in that lens. Say, well, that's what that fits with my morals or my pillars or whatever, and I'll go there. I'll run that race. So looking at that way, but also a wee bit faster as well to get my legs going. But having the multi-day stuff, there's already a few bits and pieces there in the future I'm looking at. But having that multi-day race, but maybe doing it, maybe a bigger race, 100k, 100 miles, but then splitting that up into 3 days and just going and enjoying it. Because I've a lot of the YouTube videos and that I'm watching, like UTMB and stuff like that. That's great. Running in the dark, I'd rather run during the day and look up and see Mount Blanc and stuff like that. So that's the sort. So it's maybe looking at things like that and splitting up. Still thinking like Monroe's, staying in bothies and stuff like that. That's what I want to do sort of for 2025. So split maybe 2 days running, do a few Monroes, open it up that way. So that's nothing major adventure wise, like a big 2 weeks away somewhere, but smaller wee things like that.
I feel we've missed something. It's something that I really want to know about. And thank you very much, Des, for explaining. I know you're a passionate follower of the Green Runners as well, and you mentioned pillars there. I know that's something that you really believe in, and you spoke very well about that. So thank you for. It's about people making choices, isn't it? It's about what they want to do and having that awareness. But I want to go back. How did it feel to finish the Camino? Tell us about that last day or that last 5 miles, whatever way you want to do that. How did it feel to finish?
It was a bit strange. I'd been alone for 2 weeks pondering the finish, and with about 10 miles to go, I caught up with the foundation people, and it was very, I don't know, just rapturous, joyous sort of stuff. You kind of get a better feeling than running up to a group of people wearing green t-shirts, and Peter Grant turned round going, "Oh, Des, you made it! You're here!" Then shouting, "Lenny, Lenny, he's here! Des has made it!" Calling him up to come and meet you. So, you know what I mean? You're people you've looked up to, or your Des as a football Celtic fan, going, these people know who I am. I've not even introduced myself yet. So they obviously been talking about it. So that was brilliant to hear. And then walking in, somebody started singing "You'll Never Walk Alone" or something like that, walking down the street. So the tourists are looking, who's these group of 16, 17 people walking in singing? So it was sort of emotional, but then I never really had a chance to sort of take it in, because there was 16 people there. Then my mum, dad, April, Leon were all there. So it's like, oh, well done. And it's just like, it was a wee bit different to what I'd maybe envisaged it to be, because I'd been myself for 14 days. And then it was almost all this noise and so, oh, what's happening here? But it was just an accomplishment, and just it was nowhere near relief. It was just like, that was amazing. That was absolutely brilliant. It was really good.
I always remember Brian McLaughlin, who played for Celtic, actually, but it was when he was the assistant manager at Forfar, and Forfar were playing Inverness Caledonian Thistle away, and they won the second division that day. And I remember him walking into a bar afterwards and saying to the Forfar fans, "Remember this, enjoy it." He says, because this might never happen again. You know what I mean? It was just about taking that moment, but it can be a wee bit overwhelming, especially when you're seeing your loved ones there as well, and then you've got all these folk singing, but it's a big thing, and it's a culmination of not just 2 weeks of running. There's years of planning going into this as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, so, but to have that, but you'll have that moment for the rest of your life, man. You know, it's quite a really, really special thing. And I love the fact that you're speaking to us tonight, because this documents it as well. And people can go, Leon can send this to his pals when he's saying in years to come, that's my dad. My dad did that. You know, so well done, Des. I don't know if I've said that yet. Well done, man. Completing it.
Thanks.
It's
there's parts that I've processed, and I don't know if I've still processed the end part. I think because I've maybe not, because there was parts of it like, and I'm glad again I've captured it in video. But I do a lot for charity. I done stuff for charity years ago. There was a wee boy had cancer, 5-year-old. It was the same age as my boy. So we done a lot of stuff. Celtic fans raising money because there were treatment across in America for him to get. So we're trying to raise loads of money. So I cycled to Belfast for him. So it was Oscar Knox. I've still got the band just now on my wrist, but it was halfway through the day, and there was a massive hill to go up. And do you know, I think I'm joking to the boys in the WhatsApp. There's a sign every half kilometre of "You're on the Camino" with a yellow arrow. So how many of these do you need? But this one, I was like looking up this hill, this is going to be murder. And then this sign, they've all got graffiti on them. This one had Oscar written on it, graffiti wise. So again, the whole manifest, or whatever you want to call it, but just the fact that, so looking at, I've got it on my wrist, and that just flipped my feeling right away. So, oh, Oscar, this hill is a piece of cake compared to what you went through. And it was just, so those sort of enlightenment or bits that happened during it, those I've sort of came to terms with them, processed them, but I've yet to do that maybe with the end, if that's makes sense.
It was maybe too soon to ask you if this has changed you yet. Maybe you're not even there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Finished processing it. I love it. Also, not saying I'm not accusing MD of doing anything, but anybody that does a Camino in the future might notice a couple of Young Hearts Run Free stickers on the trail.
The things you've got to do to get on this podcast.
It's in the small print, Des. It was
Yeah,
in the small print.
Thank you for doing that. But you know what? Listen, this has been an awesome chat. We've a couple of big questions to finish up, Stephen, eh?
We do, Des, and as a regular listener, for all our other regular listeners, we ask for a dialect dictionary word for submission into the Young Hearts Run Free dialect dictionary. You ken the crack. Over to you.
Right, I don't think it's for the region. I think it just might be my family and my dad.
Like lemmings. We
and-
like lemmings.
And basically it's, you're a mug. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter anything that's been for the last 40 years, I think. Anything I've done wrong or any criticism, it's just like, you're a mug. It's just, and even like, because I used to work with him as well, the civil servant. So a lot of my pals or folk I knew, they worked with him. He was the boss, sort of thing. So he used to say that all the time to them as well. They something wrong. Oh, you're a mug. What you done that? It's like, so that was my. I know it's not exactly the dirt, because I was trying to think of West Lothian and stay away from saying stuff like Ken. I'm sure that's already in the dictionary somewhere under K. But that was the only thing. You're a mug for my dad. That's all right.
And for the benefit of folk who didn't know what you're a mug means, it means you're an idiot.
You're an idiot, aye.
You're an idiot. Be a good. And there must be a mug with that on it as its thing, eh?
You're a mug.
You're a mug.
I'm thinking there must be.
Maybe there's an
opportunity.
Maybe there's an opportunity there. We market an opportunity.
You're a mug. Yeah, there you go.
It's got a ring yet.
And
then,
thank you, Des.
Yeah, thank you.
You're
We've mentioned music a couple of times, and I certainly did. The last question is, we have a new playlist. We're on volume 9 of the playlist. Which song or track would Des Tinney like to share with the Young Hearts Run Free listeners?
It's an easy one. Of James. Sometimes.
Oh man.
It's
deep. You said we weren't going deep, but there you go. That's a belter.
The first band I seen way back in '92 or something like that. I've seen them loads of times. I know it's an easy one, but then it's not, because if you look at my playlist, it's absolutely random. I listen to classical, to Taylor Swift, to anything. But one, actually, I know one that actually sticks out though when I've been running, and this is years and years ago. So in fact, it was when Katy Perry came out. Is it 2010? I think Fireworks. So this is me going back to old school. So this is when I remember it because it's the first time I took caffeine gels. So that's for all these new people coming up. Do you know these were caffeine in a gel? That was a new thing. And I always remember, because I don't drink coffee, so when I take caffeine, it's a hit. I get high. So I can just remember that and Firework and me pointing up to the sky, running along the Kelpies Road in Falkirk, and folk probably going past going, what the hell is that boy doing?
That's also the song, Des Tinney, that you suggested for me for the Manchester Marathon.
Was it? Did I do that? Did I?
Katy Perry, Firework, yeah. I still remember every single person that nominated the song. So thank you for that. And James, sometimes when I look in your eyes, I can see your soul. Man, what a tune. What a tune. Brilliant. Thank you so much for that.
James has got a few songs on the Young Hearts Run Free.
Has it? I didn't think it had.
Yep.
And if anybody is going, James, who is that? I hate to check them out. Man, you're in for a treat. Absolute. The greatest hits is exactly that. It's phenomenal. They're an amazing band. So thank you, Des. The song sometimes, even the start of that, as soon as the first couple of bars, you're just in. Awesome. Des, this has been
added.
an amazing chat. Thank you, man. Honestly, I don't know how long we've been talking, but we've more than covered 496 miles. So we'll call it 500. Let's round that one up. We can do that.
To be honest, boys, it's a total honour to be invited on the podcast. And it's worth putting those stickers on the Camino to get an invite. I don't listen religiously to loads of podcasts, but I do you guys. And I think it's just great how you've just grown organically. Do you know, I don't know, I never see you advertise apart from the episodes going up. Other than I think you're still waiting for Scott's shoes to sponsor you. Just think he's a totally genuine. He's only in it for any commercial gain or that. You know, he's just there for the love of it, for the love of the running, love of the community. And the fact that you've had so many legends on, I'm proud to be on your podcast. So, no, thanks very much for the invite and let me ramble on about the Camino.
Oh, no, I've loved it. I loved it. And just for clarity, we'll let anybody give us stuff. Anybody, doesn't have to be Scott. Anybody can batter in. But thank you very much. Thank you very much. That was very kind of you to say those lovely words. And you're right, we just did it because we love it. And it's awesome. We get to speak to amazing people doing amazing things. Same as yourself. What you've done is an amazing thing. An amazing thing.
Thank you.
And you've also spread the word. There'll be a lot of people, listen, this Stephen mentioned it earlier on, they might not have heard of the Camino. But now they might be going away Googling it and seeing what's involved with it. And who knows where that'll lead some people. So it's about us planting the seeds, you know?
See, even just speaking about it, it's opened up. So many people have said to me that, I was planning to do that. Or we done that a couple of years ago. A group of us, 5 years, done the last 100K. It's quite amazing how many people it's already on the radar.
So it's that thing about a red car, isn't it? You mentioned the red car earlier. But there'll be folk going at your work, see this guy at my work, he did that Camino thing. You know, it's honestly, it's mind-blowing. And who knows, you might never know where that inspiration lands. You might never ever know that in your life, but people will hear about it and it will inspire them. You've inspired me. I actually think Graham Conley, John Conley started talking about adventures, and that planted a seed by me. And I know I've ran with you a few times, Des, and you talk about adventures and doing stuff. And I think that really, really appeals to me. But I've thoroughly enjoyed this chat. Stephen, I'm going to come over to you to close us off. But
no, I mean, Des, I was keeping up with you. And the Camino really, I'd heard of it, but it forced me to go look into it. Do you know, what's this pilgrimage and why are they heading to Santiago de Compostela? What is there? Now, I'm no spiritual in that way, but it kind of got me hooked in, just the fact that you were doing it. So firstly, thank you for that. But what I've loved most about your story is that sort of affirmation that you've had that moving away from racing and to adventuring is what ticks your boxes. And I think that'll resonate with a lot of people, just that exact thing. It's like that. Maybe it's no about signing up for races, and that's all maybe part of it, but there's more to it than that. And it's, you know, it's more to just, there's more to it than just running, a lot more to it. And I think that for me's come over really, really loud and clear to your recount there, what sounds like one of many memorable running experiences you've had. But no, it's been great to get to spend some time with you in general as well. Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, lads.